Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I think we will start now. This is Shruti from Alumni Relations Cell, Shivaji College. They say you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Good evening, everyone. Today, I'll let you go from the journey of ARC. ARC started its journey in September 2019 and got formalized on 19th Jan 2020. It aims to connect the current students with the former students and build a mutually understanding and beneficial relationship between the alma mater and the current students. This is the culmination of the vision of our acting principal, Dr. 𝐸𝐻𝐾𝐿, our convener, Dr. Darshan Pandey, founder and president, Ms. Nishtha Sethi, and the vibrant team of ARC. We welcome you all to the 8th episode of our webinar series with Mrs. Sheetal Kalra. She is an alumni of the Department of Computer Science, batch of 1999, Shivaji College. She is the product manager at Qubole. She has a rich experience of 14 years working as a senior manager, a training instructor, an academician, a consultant, and a software engineer at organizations like Samsung, Nutanix, NetApp, Yahoo, and TCS. And today she will deliberate on the topic Campus to Corporate, Kickstarting Your Career. Over to Mrs. Sheetal Kalra.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shruti. I think folks may want to see me, so let me just switch on my video. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Shruti, for such a heartwarming welcome. And before I kind of start, I think I would like to thank ARC. Typically, Nishtha, I think, she kind of asked me that if I can kind of do a webinar, and then we discussed, okay, what exactly do you want me to kind of conduct, considering that, yeah, I have a if you look back, if I tell you, it's almost 21 years back when I graduated from Shivaji College, from Department of Computer Science, and Abha ma'am is there. She is my batchmate. I hope, I'm thinking that if Preeti ma'am is around, then hello to you, ma'am. She's the one who has taught us. So very much, you feel delighted when you become part of such fraternity and you get a chance to come back. I'll tell you what. So when myself and Nishtha were discussing, I actually started with career in product management as been written here. But I think I have twisted my slides a bit here, and the reason is what I try to thought of is that when I was graduating, what are the questions were in my mind, what I wanted to know about IT industry, and I'll try to answer those questions for you. Because the fact is those questions even persist today, and even today students have those doubts, because even though IT industry is so established, even at that time it was quite established when we were graduating, but we have questions, we have doubts, we are thinking what should be done. So that was the whole pretext and idea that I kind of formed. So what I have done is, so let me do one thing, let me share my screen. Yeah, and let me just kind of take you all, yeah, let me put it in the present mode. I hope all of you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I've said that I have written Kickstart Your Career, but the whole gamut is just to kind of to give you a fair idea of what you will expect, what has happened in the past, what are the technology trends that are going on, and a little bit of evolution of IT industry, and then what are the kind of roles that you can expect. That is how I have formalized my entire presentation. And definitely when I'm talking about different roles, product manager will cut that gamut of things. But as Shruti has talked about my profile, if you have looked at, I think I have worked in a variety of roles, and so my whole kind of intent will be to help you familiarize can kind of keep moving on in different roles if possible, and you can, so either you can go through the breadth of the careers, or you can go to the depth of the careers. So kind of trying to give you both the aspects as much as possible. So before I start, let's just, as I've told you, let's start with the first thing, that is evolution of IT industry. Now, if you look at the first, that is pre-2000, it was predominantly outsourcing. Investment in R&D was pretty strong. IT industry actually started to mature. There is these services companies like TCS and Infosys doing very well, and you just wanted to be part of this industry, and that is where we were actually. And as I've told you, that 1999 is when I have passed out. I took a plunge at that time to basically, go for post graduation, because that looked a very, very obvious choice, for me and most of my batchmates. As I've said, Ahmad was with me, and we both decided, kind of doing a post graduation. So I went for my MCA. The reason was pretty clear, that we wanted to have a very, very strong foundation before joining this IT industry, which is very vast. It's different areas where it is, and we need to really understand where you want to go, and for that you need to have a strong foundation. Let's go ahead a bit, and then let's look at from 2000, the next decade, that is from 2000 to 2010. Delivery of complex services started. Leading product companies started to coming to India and establishing their development centers. Companies like Yahoo, Google, they all have started coming in. Oracle, SAP labs, so these are. And then there is an in-house competency centers of MNCs like Target, Tesco, Honeywell, so these are captive industries that are coming in India. They're finding that, yeah, India has the capability, capacity, infrastructure to give them enough, infrastructure and, capability to hone their services. So that is the reason why these companies across the world, typically from US, decided to establish their development centers. And it was one of the most full-blown period in the industry, in the IT industry. But let me remind all of you that in between this particular decade, there comes a one very important couple of years, and that is 2001 and 2002. And I'm not sure how much of you really know about it, but that was the first IT burst bubble that happened, the dot-com bubble. There were many web companies, and they just went burst. And that is the first time when it has been realized that IT industry has matured, and it is not going to grow exponentially just like that, but there has a plateau that has come in. And that plateau has actually led to development of, many other sectors. And that is where, as I've said, that just there, because there was a dot-com bubble burst, you find that the product companies are still finding a lot of opportunity in India, and that is where India got very strong from that perspective. Coming further, let's go to the next 5 years, and that is 2010 to 2005. E-commerce, let me tell you, it's a very continuum kind of a thing. So it's not that e-commerce really started from 2010, it is very much there previously itself. Let me tell you, from between just last decade was basically the time when e-commerce was growing, booming. People were, kind of experimenting, trying to understand the market. Flipkart and Amazon were planning to come to India, and that is the time when, and they kind of changed something within India, how to even thinking of doing shopping. I have seen that era, and even thinking of doing shopping over internet was something we used to think, how is it possible? And today, trust me, most of us are doing it without even thinking twice. And I remember Flipkart introducing something like cash on delivery, and that was something that gave confidence to Indian customer. And this is something which is patented and being utilized by other countries as well, because it is a way of giving confidence to your consumer. So e-commerce companies were going through a good big boom at this time. It's a startup culture that's coming in. If you look back, the development centers of those leading product companies like Oracle, SAP, and Yahoo, they were developing, they were growing. And similarly, in-house competency centers were also growing. And along with this, there is a rise of mobility-based products. So now suddenly there is a realization that a lot of people carry mobiles. So how much can we target people who carry mobiles? So it's pretty clear, not everybody has a desktop, but a good number, a more number has mobiles than desktops or, their personal laptops. So it's pretty obvious that you can target people who have mobiles. And then with the advent of smartphones, browser capabilities, data packets, going down, the cost is affordable. it made sense. And I still remember when Flipkart and Myntra, they suddenly kind of cropped up. They were experimenting a lot. Flipkart never did, but Myntra has experimented, moving completely on a mobile-based website than going away from website, because maintaining these websites and these interfaces across different devices is a costly affair. And they took a plunge and they said we want to be only on the mobile side, because we have enough market, we have enough customer there who are going to utilize us, and anyhow they are still sustaining. But that is where these, so mobile became very important, mobile customers became important, and organizations started giving due importance to them. Meanwhile, even before, when I go to the next 5 years, I want to tell you that cloud computing is something that was very much there in the market since 2005 actually, but it was not getting that traction. There were few companies. It has its own benefits. I will not talk about cloud much because all of us are very much aware of the kind of benefits that cloud give you. If you are a startup, if you are an organization who want to kind of build anything, you don't have to even think of buying a space or buying an infrastructure or servers, but rather simply go to the cloud and rent it and try out. And if you don't want it, simply stop, just stop taking it for using the service. It's a pay as you go model. So this made startup culture very effective. And that is the reason why during that time startup culture became very strong, because it was so easy to put in your money, to experiment, to try. And if you grow to a point where you know that, then you used to go and think that, okay, let me now kind of invest in my data center if required. Yeah, this is the way. So in a way, this continuum is making different technologies very, very strong. Now, with this kind of well established, we moved on to the another next 5 years, and that is 2015 to 2020. And this is a big change. And this is a change that is going to drive next couple of decades. And that is basically the digital transformation that is led by cloud. As I said, the cloud has drastically changed. And I'll tell you what is the change that cloud has basically kind of caused. And then you have technologies like Internet of Things. Today you carry devices, your devices talk to each other, they are giving so much data. And as a result, so there was this e-commerce, there is this internet, cloud, and then Internet of Things. All of these are generating enormous amount of data. And then you don't have a choice but to go ahead and ensure that big data has to be analyzed, has to be viewed, has to be processed. So you need a lot of technology there, as a result of which artificial intelligence and machine learning came into picture, even though they don't restrict themselves only to data, but to many other robotics. And there are many other fields where AI and ML are there. But yes, is right now very strongly they're tied up with how to process data and how to make sense out of this data. How do, and if you look at today, the companies like Uber, Swiggy, Expedia, or you can say these hotel companies, all those online company organizations who are giving you access, where you are just at the click of a button getting a cab right near your house, or you're getting an order being delivered to you. They are using a lot of this intelligence. They are kind of at the back end to understand and to make sure that a service is being available to you. Besides that, Amazon using recommendation engines, and even for that matter, recommendation engines, something that everybody utilizes. So all this basically is AI and ML in place. And then, as I've said, that mobility continued, because as I've told you, there may not be a possibility of every user having a laptop or a desktop or some form of computer at their place, but they definitely have mobile, and mobiles have become stronger. Mobiles actually replace computers for that from that aspect. And as a result, that is an important sector that needs to be taken care in everything that you develop when you talk about developing that. And finally, one very big change that has kind of come in, and that is user experience. And I think I would like to talk about the company who kind of brought in this particular concept of user experience, and that is Apple. Steve Jobs, who really kind of believed, or kind of explain the world that how much simple a UI, a user interface can be. And that's what iPhone is all about. A single button to use to make anything, to change the user interface or to do whatever you want to do, but with that one single button. And then this is being carried over by many in many other ways. I still remember that I have worked for an enterprise company where they said that we want to make our interface so simple like Apple products. So the whole thing is it has influence. It's not just the general user using it, but even enterprise companies wanted to make their product so simple that it's because they're complex products, but the user experience has to be really simple. So user experience became very, very important now. And if you ask me, as I've said, we are into 2020, and if what is going to happen next is it is moving to the cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, and GCP in that order of the market share, if you ask me, and then adoption of digital transformations. So these particular transformations that I've talked in last 5 years, they are going to play a very, very big role. Besides that, I'm not sure if you're aware of, but all those organizations, all these captives of product companies who have their huge data centers, they realized and they decided that now we want to move to the cloud because of the same reason. Data centers cost, you need infrastructure, you need servers, you need people to maintain those servers, you need electricity power. Oh my God, you need too much to handle it. And they realized that they can make a lot of savings. And as a result, we have these three big public cloud platforms today. And most of the organizations in next 5 years are planning how to move their physical data centers to the cloud. So that's a big thing that's happening. And along with that, obviously, these other technologies will also play a very big role in these. Fine. So this is basically just to give you a gist of how exactly the IT industry has kind of evolved from in last couple of decades and how it looks like to be next decade or so. That is idea, but it's a very, very, I can say, 20,000 feet view to all of you. There are many other details which have kind of been missed. I may not be going in details of each and every track or a sector, but if you ask me on a broad level, this kind of nicely summarizes how IT industry looks like. I move forward to my next slide, and that is, so if you look at presently, now we'll talk about the current trends that are there, just to give you a fair idea of, even though I have given you, but let's just look at the current trends that are going on to give you a fair idea of what kind of jobs or what kind of avenues you can think of. So global information technology industry right now has been said to be almost like $5.2 trillion, and it is growing at the rate of 3.7%. Please try to understand, we are in unprecedented times today because of COVID. Quite a number of non-IT sectors have been impacted, because of which IT sector also got impacted basically. And the reason is pretty simple. I'll just give you a simple example. Let's take an example of a company like AWS or a GCP, who are public cloud providers, right? Imagine there is an organization who was talking to them and say that, yeah, we want to move to cloud, but suddenly because of this COVID, they have definitely deferred their plan maybe by next 6 months, because at this moment they want to stabilize. Their revenues are getting impacted. They don't want to put a lot of money in such a huge big project. These are million dollar projects that we are talking about. Similarly, just imagine there is a big data company who is actually, kind of taking care of data of companies like Uber or Swiggy and Expedia or Booking.com. Now so if you look at hotel industry got impacted, travel industry got impacted. Now these industries, when they are using, or even for that matter airline industry, when they are utilizing IT, whichever IT company services they're utilizing, those IT companies must have seen a loss in revenue. So in this way, this is a very, very kind of a conservative guidance that has been given. But definitely COVID is temporary, please understand, and it will definitely go away, and you will find that things are getting better with time. But still there is a lot of avenue. Typically what I want to kind of bring into all of you to understand is that IT industry in India is flourishing. It is going fine. Please be aware that there have been layoffs. There have been those situations where people have been let go because of the current pandemic, but still we still foresee that the job market will open up slowly and gradually, and things will get better. let's move on forward further, and I'm sorry. Yeah. So if I look at the four trends that I could see, and I have taken this entire, this at least these 4 5 slides are basically from a CompTIA study, and I have added the link to the slides in the end, and I'll be sharing the slides with all of you, so don't bother. So these are the four areas which have been found to be very very predominant in, in 2020 for that matter: software development, cybersecurity, data, and infrastructure. So let me kind of quickly take you through these. If you look at software development, I have told you already, user experience is something that is kind of taken precedent. It's growing exponentially. The whole intent is that, as I've told you, even an enterprise companies want their product to be so simple, and as a result they hire these UX designers to ensure that even though the product at the back end is really complex and difficult to handle, but in the front end it becomes so simple and it's so obvious, so intuitive. Like for that matter, booking an Uber cab is something like creating a cluster. Can you make it that simple? These are the challenges which UX industry is trying to solve for you. Quality assurance, I still remember, in the sense that we always talk about developers, software engineers, and let me tell you, if you are not finding software engineering developers, they're on top, right? So they're always needed, they're always required everywhere. After that, all these different kind of job roles come in. But now what has been realized after so many years in industry is that, can you please help us, kind of ensure that the product that you're giving to the customer is a quality product. This could be your retail customer like you and me, when I talk about e-commerce companies, or it could be an enterprise customer or a user. In both the scenarios, it has to be quality, user experience has to be excellent. So these are the aspects because of which quality assurance has got a lot of prominence now. The competition is so high that you cannot give a substandard product to your customers. I've already talked about it. AI machine learning doesn't need any kind of introduction. All of us know how important it is in the current scenario. So basically they have, it's like, this is the next technology that will help you kind of make sense of anything, basically. Let it be, and it could, and you make sense out of data, and data can be, this can be any kind of data, and that's the beauty. It could be your structured data that's coming from your, to the kind of forms that you're filling, or it could be your videos or images that you are putting in your internet, or it could be your tweets, your Facebook likes, comments. It could be anything, and AI ML has the power to make sense out of it and give you that information which you can utilize to target the right customers and target the right audience, basically. Mobile development, again, as I've said, that this from last 10 years there has been a lot of focus, considering that now almost a good number of population of the world has mobiles with them, if not anything else, and that is how they can be easily targetable. DevOps is a new sector that has come in, and that has come in only because of the software as a service. Basically, when I was talking about these cloud service providers like AWS and GCP, what they have done is they have made software available as a service. It's not like that you have to go and install. You just have to use the service. You have to pay, and as much as you pay, you're going to utilize it. Now, to manage those kind of these kind of scenarios and these kind of software best practices, you need people who are skilled in that, and they are DevOps, who are doing continuous integration and continuous development for your projects. So it's a new breed of engineers that is coming in. And again, so these are the areas where you can kind of think of making your career going forward. Let's go forward, and again, data, that's the area where I am in today. And database administration has always been, a lot of structured data basically goes into databases. But then now, as I've said, that there is a good amount that comes in predictive in terms of analytics. Analytics again is of different types, but predictive analytics is something which is considered the most important and most utilized form, basically. Data visualization, all I need as a executive member of my organization, or as a CXO or CIO, is how can the data make sense to me. So as a Uber CEO, I just want to know that how many people have kind of I want to kind of want to make sure that how many people have utilized my services, how many people are able to get the cab at the time, in due course of time, how many have complaints, what is all this, can I see visually? Can you really kind of give me that details just on a single dashboard. So this is the kind of challenges that we have to fill in. Data management policies, or what do you want from your data? That if I ask a question, I should get a correct answer. If I ask for a report, I should, if I have entered something, I should be able to get back the same thing. These are the basic data management policies that everybody of us basically needs. And then there is this blockchain that has come in. So I don't have much of idea on that, so I will not kind of comment here, but yeah. Let's go forward and infrastructure, and that is where I was talking about public clouds. So cloud computing, within cloud computing, network and storage. So exponential growth of data, where are you storing it? On the storage. How you're accessing? Over the network. And that's it. So you know, and then where this data, and where is your storage and networking? Basically on some servers, server administration. And we have already discussed Internet of Things is something that's booming. Your devices, Alexa, your refrigerator, your microwave, everything is talking to you right now. There are sensors on it and you are telling them, your phone is talking to you. So these are nothing but Internet of Things. And please try to understand each and every command that you give to these devices, or you do something with these devices, is generating data and is being stored somewhere, is being tracked somewhere, and is being made sense somewhere, right? Then mobiles, we have already discussed. And what happens in this entire scenario of where you are trying to be in a scenario where there is, when we talk about services, cloud, you really don't know who is at the, where is your data, you don't know who is handling it, you don't know. You just know that when I go and query the data, I'm going to get it. That's it, right? So in such scenarios, the support becomes very important. In case I'm not able to access my data, in case my application is not working that I'm trying to access, I should know where to contact, even though I cannot see that person around me, but I should be able to. And Linux and Unix, we all know they have been the foundation in the industry because of the open source platform that they provide on various technologies. I don't even want to name it, but there are immense. And Linux has kind of created a small revolution in itself by challenging Microsoft to an extent, where open source, people decided that they are going to contribute to open source rather than making applications which are tied to a particular operating system and not allowed to be used by anyone. The entire big data industry, which is on Hadoop, Hive, Apache, they all are open source. People are contributing to open source. So that's the beauty of how these products, they are thriving and they're living, because none other than developers are supporting it. And that is the kind of ecosystem they want to work in. Let's go further. And cybersecurity, again, that's not my area, so I will not be able to see, but these are the various, aspects in which it seems to be. So cybersecurity, in a way, we can kind of, I can help you understand, is basically nothing, but we all are on internet all the time. We all know how many cyber crimes, hacks happen on your computer, your mobile phones. I have heard of so many people getting impacted. Just a couple of days, one of my friends' phone got hacked, and this time it was nothing, but it was just the WhatsApp that got hacked, and it started sending some infurious messages across. And similarly, Twitter account got hacked. That's a very latest information that happened. So cybersecurity is again a very, very important piece. And please try to understand that somewhere we are not taught these things directly, but what the beauty, the important part that all of you have to understand right now is that all of you have access to this information in form of online education. I remember Coursera coming somewhere around 2010, 2011. And I'm not sure if you guys may not have really seen that time, but they used to give free courses. And I still remember doing 5 or 6 courses at that time because they were free and they were beautiful. It's online, I can do it anytime. And they were very strict at that time. They had very clear 5-week course and you have to finish every week. There was assignment, and I have done all that. So the whole idea is that all of you have access to these resources, and I will request all of you to make sure that you are utilizing these resources. During COVID, I think Coursera again made it available and free for college students. I know our college has made provision for all of you. My question to you is that go and introspect and find, ask yourself, are you utilizing it? Because it's important. You cannot expect your college education to tell you each and every aspect of IT industry, But now you have resources with you to ensure that you know about it, or you can at least get information about it or learn about it. First, know what area. Don't try to learn everything. I'll never suggest that at all. You have to find your area of interest. You have to find the area that appeals you. And once you're able to know that what that area is, you have enough weaponry around you to ensure that you know about it, learn about it, show your interest, and go and get a job that kind of works in that particular area, because you have done enough work beforehand itself. Let's move forward. What I'll do is, so the idea behind the slide is very simple. I think when I was in college, and I have been told to make these projects by our professors and teachers, we ensured that the project is made. We're group projects, we have done individual projects, but we never understood what that project is actually all about. But if you go and join an organization, development team is just one part of it. And when you ask me what is a development team, the development team basically is the software engineer, the QA engineer basically involved, who is doing the testing, your design lead, your architects, your engineering managers, project managers, release managers. So these all kind of form a development team. And development team gets all their input from the product team basically. So that is where now I belong to. I was part of development team for a long time. I have been part of education team for a long time, and then now I'm part of the product team, right? And besides this, I kind of missed addict, but you can say that there is another team that is there. Support is obviously required. So let's suppose this is an enterprise company, right? There's an enterprise product like Oracle databases. So obviously, when this particular product is being given to any of the customers, either as a service or as a product, now in both the scenarios, they require that if there is some problem they face, they have a support. So support has to be there. Now, if they want to learn about this product, they want to understand what this product, because obviously I'm talking about niche products like databases or CRM or ERP, or for that matter, big data as a service. All these are very, very niche products, and you have to learn them. You have to understand how to use them. Despite the fact that we say that UI has to be simple, but at the back end there is a lot of it. So any user, even though when I talk about somebody using an ERP, he's an ERP administrator for sure, but definitely he wants to learn about that. So education teams comes into the picture. And then when this product is being developed, it's a sales team. So marketing team ensures that it has spread enough word about this particular product to the world, so that they can kind of ensure the world knows about it, and customers are there who are ready to buy this product. And sales team are the ones who actually take this product and go and sell it to the customers. Besides all these forefront running teams, in the back end you have your finance, legal, and HR who are working through ensuring. So when we look ourselves, we generally have a habit of looking ourselves in a silo that we are a development team. But trust me guys, these are so many. So when you join an organization, you just realize, oh my god, there are so many other teams, there are so many other groups, and these are the kind of groups who are there. And if you ask me, trust me, you can join any of these groups basically sooner or later, based on your liking, based on your interest. Once you join the industry and you realize that, okay, I think I am very good at sales. Yeah, we need IT people in sales. So there is a pre-sales, there's post-sales. So those kind of things are there. There are professional services. So a customer is using an enterprise product, and they really want to know that what are the so there are some particular requests that comes from the customer. What is going to happen in those scenarios? Professional services team is there. So there are many teams that I may not be I will be focusing now my next few slides on development team basically, and product team, various roles. But I just want to tell you that these are plethora of opportunities around these areas as well, which kind of help you hone your existing IT skills. And still, in case you have a bent of mind towards sales or marketing or support or education, you can kind of explore those areas as well, right? And now let's go to the next slide. Now, I'm not sure, I think you may not be able to see this well because it's slightly, but I tried to create a small mind map of all these roles that we hear about a lot. Software engineering developer. If you ask me from the role perspective, what is expected from you? It's expected that you're going to do development on a particular programming language on which the product has been created. You will be helping in the designing and development of that particular software. You will be analyzing, designing, developing test cases also, because unit testing and code reviews, definitely everything is being done by developers by themselves. And then obviously once this product goes through the market and you find some bugs, you are the one who will be fixing it, because you are the one who has created it, right? So this is the kind of a role that I think kind of broadly all of us know. But let's try to understand what are the kind of skills that we need. Again, don't take it, these are all representative of a kind of role that I'm talking about. It may vary based on a lot of things, the kind of technology that you're going to work on, and uh, organization. So these things will change, but broadly they are kind of, I can give you that they come into this bucket basically. So if you ask me from hard skill, I will say if you want to become a developer or a software engineer, you have to have strong programming and coding skills. And if fresh out of college, this is expected that you have a fair knowledge of data structures and algorithm of a language of your choice. I never kind of tell people to learn too many languages. That doesn't help. Stick to one, decide one language, and then ensure that you know it very well. So ensure that you should know databases, because that's like a backend. So if you know something in front end, you should know something in backend as well. Networking, important again, as I've told you. Today there is a complete possibility the moment you join an organization, they will be using cloud, and then you need to know the entire stack: server, storage, networking. Source control, I think most of you must be using Git today. We didn't have Git at our time, and then we used to go to the organization and then used to learn about what exactly is version control. But today I think you all have exposure to that you actually used it, so you understand the beauty, the importance of the source controls that are available. And Git, I think, is predominantly being utilized in the organization, or if anything else, it's very much on these lines. Then your integrated development environments, these days they are considering, if you talk about languages like Java and all, you should definitely know these things. And some bit of operating systems. Now what I would suggest is, it depends upon whether you want to become an application programmer or a system programmer. You will have to kind of decide among these areas, and the weightage will change accordingly. But that was the fair idea, to give you the kind of topics that I think you should know when you want to graduate out, or you want to take a plunge for going in a job. Besides that, obviously debugging skills and analytic skills are important, and I expect kind of that all of you kind of have that, just that hone it further, because you have written a code, you are breaking it, you should know how to debug it and find where the error is. So that, and if you have not even written the code, even then you should be able to debug it. So that's an important skill actually. And from soft skills perspective, now this is something which we are never taught ever in our school or colleges, talking about. But I think this generation is fortunate to get exposure so much to the, because of the social media, kind of much more aware than I think what we were. And I think generations always cribs. So I'm a cribbing right now, so don't worry on that. But the whole idea is to tell you that these are the soft skills which is expected out of all of you. Communication skills, which I really kind of believe that almost all of us have, considering the exposure to social media and the way we communicate over there. Teamwork, problem solving, and attention to detail. Those are the kind of things being, and as I've told you, it's kind of little specific to the role I'm talking about. Let's move on. And as I've told you, the next very important role that is there is quality assurance engineer or a developer. And there are different names by which we call these this particular role. The idea again over here is they are completely into testing. And what testing basically requires you to think very creatively, think ways of breaking the software. So if you are the kind of person who really know that how I can break the software, how I can really make sure. So I'll give you an example. If somebody tells, can you test my code, and you went and break that code almost all the time by entering something because of which that particular software cannot take, I think you know that you have a bent of mind towards quality assurance. So hard skills, again, they're coding skills, kind of similar what I have shown you previously. Manual testing is something, and automation testing framework. Now, obviously, in your position, you may not be aware of it, but desirable in the sense that you should be, as I've said today, you have access to information. You just cannot say that, no, I haven't heard about it. If you're going for a QA developer role, right? You should at least know about it. Maybe you don't have experience, which is fair to consider. From soft skill perspective, again, effective teamwork, curious, creative collaboration. but accuracy and precision. And in this case, why it is required, as I've told you, it's very important for you to understand if this is the program and this is my user is using. You have to test it from very different perspective. One is from the functionality perspective, second from the user experience perspective, third from ensuring that, and today scale is there. So if supposedly 1,000 people are accessing this application at the same time, so from performance perspective, so these are all the different ways in which you can test. You have to, and again, let me tell you, there are specializations here. You can say that I know performance testing well, and you are the kind of person. So even these are specializations that we can go into basically in details how to go about it. But this was a fair idea of giving you about this role. Let's move on, and next is front-end developers. So those ones, most of, if you put it simply, the ones who design your website. I'll not even say develop and design and make that user experience, user interaction. So those kind of building storyboards, conceptualizing design, and please understand, these are the folks who are actually interacting with the UX designers. So they are understanding how the experience should be, and then they take that experience and actually code it in that particular format, so that the user get that delightment when they use the product. Again, if you ask me, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, version control, responsive design, build an automation test, CSS and JavaScript framework, these are the kind of hard skills you should have. Again, when I say desirable, my intent is very clear. If you say that I want to be a front-end developer, I would say that you should be kind of aware of at least the programming languages, the version control, CSS and JavaScript frameworks, and there are many others. As I've said, these are good indicators of what is required. But from responsive design and perspective, you should definitely get into the design skills a bit to ensure that you are doing. See, today organizations expect that when you are saying I want to be this X, Y, and Z, you know what are the basic skills required, and you have done your enough homework to come prepared for that. Typically, because you are in the times when you have access to information. There were times when you don't have. That is fair. Then we were kind of at that time, in that particular category. But today, that's not the case. And obviously now when you talk about front-end developers, teamwork, collaboration, written verbal communication comes very handy, and comes empathy. And empathy is required because you need to understand your user, because you are the one who are designing for them. I have even included this one more role, which is UX designer, and the reason was pretty simple, because this is one of the hottest requirements. If you ask me, if you have that knack of thinking from user perspective, if you think you can kind of empathize and design, and you have that inclination towards designing the interfaces or the websites, I think this is the kind of role you can think of. But please note that your graduation or your current education may not really help you land into UX designer jobs. You have to take up some courses. And again, we have ample of courses available in India across premier institutes which provide, and this is what they kind of cover. So the beauty is that UX designers and developers are different. Designers are the one who actually study the user persona, study what kind of user will be using it. So just to give an example, Uber app, it could be a 60-year-old mother who will be using it. It could be an 18-year-old, millennial like you, or it could be somebody 35. It could be male, it could be females. Those are the different user personas they're going to study and understand how are they going to use it, and how I have to ensure that the single interface can cater to the needs of these three different demographics of users, right? So it's a very interesting, very different kind of role. And in case you kind of think that you have an inclination, or you kind of have that bent of mind, I would definitely suggest, please go and explore this course. It may require further level of taking up one extra course for yourself, but if you ask me, this thing will definitely pay you in future for sure. Now I'll take you to the management career path, because that is where you are, software developer. And then you think about, okay, what is my career path? What is my career growth in my life? So from developer to design lead to architect, that could be one. Or then you can go towards the management career path. And the obvious one where you can kind of move around is basically is the engineering manager. Now, engineering manager, if you ask me, hard skills are like, you have strong technical skills. That's kind of have been said. You have some minimum years of experience. I'm talking some 7-8 years down the line kind of a role track for you, not really very early. Manage scale projects, relevant domain knowledge, project management skills are there. And so you are the one now who is kind of planning the entire project for your team. You have got this, there is this project A out of which you are doing the part of B1. And within that B1, you have 4 engineers. So you have to really plan who is going to do what will be your contribution, and you are technically savvy enough to help your team in case they get stuck. You are deciding what will be the entire stack of your product, what you are kind of preparing. So this is, again, as I've said, something down the line after you have honed enough experience, confidence, that yeah, you can be an engineering manager, which is a very, very a good technical and a people oriented role, basically, to give you a crux of these things. Let's go further, and we have delivery or project manager. Now, there are huge projects and service companies. So I'll tell you, you will find this particular role in name of delivery manager, project manager, program manager, release manager. I'll not say they are same. Based on the kind of industry this particular terminology is being used and the kind of industry, program manager, release manager are kind of a shortened version or a subset of the role that a project manager or delivery manager kind of does. So in product companies, you will find a lot of these technical program managers and release managers kind of role, who basically take care of the release, entire release end to end, and the technical project as part of that release. Whereas a project manager is a very, very broad term being utilized for different projects at the organization level. And I'm talking about IT organizations typically. So they may be handling multiple projects. But if you ask me, a release manager, they'll be looking at one particular release at a time. And within that, all the projects that come, or all the sub projects that come within that release. So that is the kind of, if you ask me for this, even if you have been in industry for some time, PMP certified is something that is kind of asked, required, said, unsaid, but experience always makes a difference. Supposedly you get a chance of managing projects early in your career, and you found an interest, and you did, maybe you have done a PMP certification, that kind of gives you a good avenue of making that change into a program manager or a project manager for that matter. And if you ask me now the moment, your soft skills are getting very important when you move into management roles, because communication, collaboration is something you have honed, but now negotiation and critical thinking and decision making, these are the kind of skills that are required. And these skills get honed when you grow in your life, when you grow in your career. So obviously, as I've said, that these particular roles demand that kind of skills, and you get that with experience. It's nothing but, and you learn how to do it because you have done that in your early career, basically. Let's go further, and I think that was product manager, and it seems that quite a few are interested. But as I've said, you cannot think of being a product manager right out of the college. You have to be in either of these, software development roles, maybe a kind of developer or a front end. Definitely from UX designer to product management, I'm not aware of how many, and again from QA, because those are very, very niche kind of areas where you are getting into. But you have been a developer or a software engineer, worked in a product, attained a domain knowledge. So maybe suppose you are working on a banking product and you have amazing banking as a domain knowledge, or you're working for a storage company and you have a lot of knowledge there, or you are working for a big data company and you have, so domain knowledge becomes very, very important in that case. Technical proficiency is definitely required. And then you need to have certain skills like market research, market analysis, consumer competition analysis, consumer behavior, and on top of that, you should have some UX background. Again, you are the kind of a person who is expected to know his consumer or customer well, because only then you can come up with the product definitions that are in align with the liking of the user or customer. That is why your product will be, your sales team will be able to sell product, because you're developing that kind of products. You are the one who is giving these definitions to the development team. So there is a lot of onus, there are a lot of skills expected out of product managers. My take will be that, again, be a developer for some time, and generally I would recommend going for an MBA, basically, if you really want to kind of move on to a product manager role. Or at least now, as I've told you, we have so many online courses, or ensuring that you have taken those enough number of required courses on market research, data analytics, consumer behavior, competition analysis, UX background, those kind of programs you have taken and you have shown a good domain expertise and technical proficiency, those kind of will work together to, because it's not mandatory to have an MBA, but definitely these skills will be required. You can make a switch within your own organization or even across organizations. I have noticed people have done that. But yeah, there are few management skills that I'll always recommend. You can attain them by deciding that go for a, these days there are executive courses, so you can kind of take those as well. It's not really that you have to leave your job and do it. I know of number of folks who have taken these executive courses, but education, building your foundation for changing roles or for growing in a role is very important. And that is where I generally kind of believe that all of you should invest a lot of time into. I think I am running out of time. I know there are a lot of questions, but I still have another 3-4 minutes to go, and I'll quickly take you through the next slide. And that is my journey, because what I wanted to talk about is very quickly, 2002 is when I have cleared my post graduation, and I was in a thinking what is to be done. And I told all of you, 2002 was the first .com bubble burst happened, and we all suffered from not having jobs. We were giving internships or jobs, and we were not having that. So we're thinking what is to be done. And finally, when the market opened, we got through, and I got through my first job with TCS in 2003. Even though meanwhile I was working as a lecturer in one of the colleges, because teaching has always been one of my passions, and it has always helped me sail through. So I joined TCS. Then I went across and I joined Yahoo in 2005. Finally, if you look at this time in 2007, I have to leave my job because I had a 2-year-old son, and I was in the cross bridges and thinking what should be done in my life. And I decided, I think it's good time I should give time to my son, and I took that plunge. For 2 years, I took a break, and I call it as a time for self-introspection, because what I did during those 2 years, coming from Yahoo, company like Yahoo, they basically ignite your idea cells a lot. So I had ideas typically regarding parenting websites, and how what can be done. There was a lack of information around, and I ended up, there was this first Times India Network entrepreneurship challenge that was there, and I basically put on my challenge and got selected in the first 500, I believe. And then they took us for a couple of rounds of where they gave us some training and stuff. Not much, a couple of hours. Basically, they gave us idea about the entire perspective, and then they took up for another further rounds of interview. Obviously, I didn't get selected, and I kept contemplating whether I should do it. And that's why I have put a self-introspection, because I was trying to understand, do I really belong to this startup culture? Do I have that entrepreneurship thing in me? And I realized maybe I'm not a risk taker. So I decided to go ahead and join back industry, but this time I decided to be in academia, because that's where I'm very closely. This is one thing which I can kind of know that I can teach anytime. So I decided to become a professor with one of the management colleges in Bangalore. Meanwhile, I decided to do my executive education with XLRI, and that is the time period of 2009 to 2011 when I was finishing that. And I got my first back into corporate career with the training instructor with NetApp. But the important thing for all of you to kind of understand is that this is a big domain change, and it was basically the storage industry, right? I think I kind of wanted to have some questions where I'm speaking and I'm not asking any questions. So what I want you to do right now is I think, can you see I'm moving my mouse on one of the logos? Can anyone tell me which is this particular logo basically? And I think type on your chat box, if possible. Can anyone answer me this question very quickly? Do you know which logo is this? 2015, where I have written. I hope I haven't lost all of you while we are having this discussion. I'm not getting any answers, guys. I'm waiting. Nobody's okay. So you don't know, then say I don't know. That will be that is a way in which I can really see that yeah, you people are with me. Otherwise, I'm thinking I'm talking to a wall.
No, ma'am, I don't know.
Okay, that's nice. Shruti, you called this company as Nutanix. Let me tell you, it's Nutanix. Okay, this is a beauty. So I still remember that in Vegas, they conducted one interview and they went and asked all the audience to, they showed Nutanix written and they asked how would you, and trust me, Nutanix was something which everybody said. So the company name is Nutanix. So NetApp and Nutanix basically come from the same background of enterprise storage, and Nutanix was in hyper-converged. I continued in my education background being an enablement manager. From there, I joined Samsung, again in the enablement space for long. And from there in between, finally, I joined Qubole as a product manager. Release is what I'm taking care of. And then a couple of in-house products is what I'm looking into. In between this journey, there are two logos which are there, and this is basically Anita Borg logo, and I have been associated with them for almost like 3-4 years initially, and then because of my busy schedules kind of couldn't continue, but I have been part of their Grace Hopper conference and being their ambassador, have conducted a couple of mentoring talks, so that all I have done. And now today I am associated with Catalyst Mentoring group, where they need mentors to to couple of engineering students, and I think my mentees are here as part of this webinar as well. So this is about me. A lot of questions, a lot of doubts I have, but if you ask me in one single thing, if I can tell you what is thing that can sustain you all your life, then this is the answer to it.
Ma'am, I have
The
a
future,
question.
just 20 minutes. The
Okay.
future belongs to those who learn, unlearn, and relearn. Yeah, so please remember, if you have the capacity to keep learning all your life, I can guarantee you will be able to land yourself in whatever you would have thought of sooner or later. I'll not say that life is always a bed of roses, or it's once you are in IT industry, it has its own challenges. Trust me, guys, you have to from education to corporate. The big change that happens is that now you were learning, you were studying, you have seen competition within your friends. Imagine now going to the job market, within the job you're seeing the competition again, and it cannot be cutthroat. You have to collaborate with the same set of people you're competing with, and that is where the real challenges of soft skills and life skills come in. But in all these scenarios, if you can ensure that you will keep learning, keep updating yourself, that is where life will take you. So that's all from my side, and go ahead and ask me questions now.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we all know that you were working with different organization and you are also working right that time. So there are different strategies in the organization, whether it is like non-technical industry or a technical industry. So my question is how IT would would take the strategy part and get it into the welfare of the organization.
So let me kind of answer you from give you an aspect. If I understand the question correctly, what you're trying to understand is how IT can influence these non-IT sectors. Can I summarize the question like this?
No, ma'am, like how IT influence the strategic part of an organization, whether it is
Okay.
technical or non-technical, for welfare of the
Absolutely. Why
organization.
not? I'll tell you something. So let me tell you this. So first of all, IT company itself strategies, because IT is there, right? I'll give you an example of, let's take banking. Now, banking is a non-IT sector, right?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
still remember 20 years back when Rajiv Gandhi, kind of brought in computers and everything, and it was computerization of banking sector was happening. That was the first time a non-IT sector got hit by IT, right? And there was such a doubt. People said that we are going to lose jobs because we don't know how to work. And the beauty about it is that the banking sector said, we will, educate you. We will train you how to use this computer, how to use this application. And I still remember in Delhi, I have one bank, and even I go today because I have an account there. The same set of people are there. Nothing has changed. What they have done is they have adapted themselves. So if you ask me how IT changes, this is how IT can influence any sector. Now let's take food industry. Ordering food online. I still remember, I'll tell you, this is the company called as uh, justhungry.com. It is three ITNs. I remember I was in Yahoo, and they came up with this concept of ordering food online, and they came to us and we discussed, and I was, and just eat.in today is, I think, Food Panda. They got acquired by these guys. But what I'm trying to say is that each and every sector is getting impacted. Now, when it comes to strategy, if you decide that now you are going to use IT, in the when I say is that, let's suppose that procuring orders over online, you need people. So your strategy has to change, because now you have two interfaces. You have a retail interface, your restaurant, and now you have another interface where online orders are coming. And you want that manager of yours who is standing there as at a retail should be able to understand what, how to understand these online orders. And I have to be ready with the packed food along with serving my customers who are sitting in the restaurant at the same time. So when you ask me, IT influences strategy like anything. The day you decide how much IT will percolate a particular sector. NGOs, let me take example. I'm not sure if you have heard about these. There is this guy called as Atul Satija, and I have been following him because I kind of want to be in social sector at some point of time in my life. And Nudge Foundation and Give. And I'll tell you the beauty, the way they have kind of utilized, so how they are utilized. So Nudge Foundation basically ensures that these lower strata people who are, who want to work in various sectors, but they don't have English language, or they want to work as as drivers, and only they have few gaps if they want to get these jobs, and they fill up those gaps by 2-3 months of vocational training being given to these people. And Give basically is like any other social sector where they go and ensure giving food and education to kids, women, and all that. What they have done is, I'm not sure if you know, Flipkart gives you point when you make purchases. And I was thinking, and I had some 1,000 points. Do you know what they have done? When I went and I decided what to you do with those 1,000 points, they asked me, you can give 40 points for one-time meal for a child. You can give 70 points to give, 1-day fees for a child. Imagine the granularity of these points they have taken. And what did I do? I actually decided to buy all my points using this. So social sector. And what do you think? So today social sector actually has IT people. You go to these organizations, you will find that they have openings for software engineers, UX designers, product managers, because they realize they have to sell a product. Even social sector kind of things, it's so important. So IT is everywhere, if you ask me. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. Sambhav has a question.
Yeah.
What did you like the most? Product management, project management, or people management?
Okay, I'll. That's a nice, interesting question. So let me tell you, I have not done a lot of people management because I have been an individual contributor all my life, and even with product manager, you and IC. With project manager, you are also an IC. The only thing is, in both these scenarios of product management and project management, you have to collaborate with many people. If you ask me, the most challenging role that I'm having right now is product management, because I'll tell you what is happening. I have to work with development team, telling them what kind of product I need. But before I can give them those specification of what product, what I need, I have to work with my field team. And when I talk about field team, it is basically the sales folks, the solution architects, and finally the end user customer. And getting access to an enterprise world, it's not that easy. With the e-commerce, with retail, sector, it may be easy. You can find few people who can do, kind of give you their views. But in this scenario, it's not that easy getting their time and all. But for that, a lot of preparation has to be done. So if you ask me, yeah, I think product management is the most interesting and most challenging. But project management, again, and project management requires, kind of an ease. It's like that you are the best among in communication. You can get along with people and you can get your work done. Do you know what beauty about both these management roles is? Getting work done from people you don't manage, and that is the biggest challenge. Being an engineering manager or being a people manager, people are already under you, then motivating them is not a big deal. It's easier because there is vested interest from both the sides. But in this scenario, it's like You don't control them, you don't manage them, and then you have to get work done. So it's like a real test of your skills. So yeah, if you ask me, yeah, product management anytime.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah,
I don't know how would I can frame it. Like, it's
go ahead.
simple. Like IT is, as you told, is in every field out there.
Yep.
Be it the social thing or anything. So, ma'am, like now in this thing, like during this pandemic, as operations has been put on hold, right? So, IT sector is something could be operated from like remotely.
Yes.
Moreover, compared to other things. So, how much IT would be helping in revival of everything like this economic breakdown which we are having, as in the whole the global economy I am talking about. Can you put your
Yeah,
insights in it?
sure, that's an interesting question, but I'll tell you very honestly, see, IT has helped to a point where Amazon or Flipkart can deliver. You can order online and they can deliver you. But that is possible only if there is no lockdown. If there is a lockdown, nobody can do anything about it, right? If you remember those month of lockdown across various cities, I know in Bangalore it was a very, very strong 3 weeks, 4 weeks. 3 weeks is national wide. Then statewide also, there have been lockdowns that have happened. Just to give you an example, essential services were working, and then so what IT has kind of bridged the barrier is, but at the operational level IT may not be able to do. Now what is the next level at which they can kind of so what I am trying to bring in is that if the how can IT contribute to helping people revive from COVID? They are also impacted. Please try to understand IT is equally impacted, because IT depends on these non-IT sector organizations, and if they are not flourishing and if they are not having revenues, they will directly impact you as well. But then all these sectors like AI, artificial intelligence, ML come into picture, where you start learning about your customers, what they want. I'll give you a simple example, and I'll tell you two organizations who have utilized it during the pandemics or during these downturns of 2002s. One of the organization I've worked was NetApp, and now today Qubole, and I can even talk about Nutanix from that perspective. What these organizations, so what NetApp and Nutanix do is they give you storage servers. Today, you have a data center, and you need servers, you need storage, and these are the organizations who provide. Now, okay, so what is the big deal about it? What exactly do you think is in the mind of a CIO who want to buy a server at the end of the day? They want to ensure that I should get more service by paying less. That's the mantra, and even today that's the mantra, right? So what is, so you want cost optimization. These organizations ensure they have kind of made product in such a way that they reduce the storage footprint, in the sense that you can store more, or you can kind of ensure that it looks like that you have 100 GB, 100 terabytes available, even though you just have 50 dB. It's like virtual storage being made available to you. So though there are various concepts they kind of brought in, they immediately introduce things like compression or encryption, just to ensure that your data is safe and your data is compressed, so that, because a compressed data reading and writing is not that simple, so they made changes to their algorithm so that it can be faster. What I'm trying to say is IT respond in such ways. Similarly, I'll talk about Qubole today. We basically provide big data as a service over these public clouds like AWS, GCP, and Azure. In case of AWS, you all can go and create clusters, but you have no idea that there are these VMs. There are different categories of VMs. And then there are VMs which comes on auction. Trust me, there are these cases. They are called as spot nodes. So you can go and get these, but not what is the downside? Obviously, when you get something on auction, like if a 1 minute charge is $1, you are getting in 20 cents. So you would say, yeah, I want, but Amazon put a caveat on top of that. AWS says a caveat is that I can take away this service at any time. Now, would you have, if you have a critical workload, you will never like to do it. But what Qubole has done it, they have created an algorithm around it in such a way that if that spot node goes away, they immediately ensure that there is a backup, which is there as part of it. So these are the kind of innovations that IT industry does to ensure that non-IT, but then there is a limit to it. It's not that IT is not a panacea or cure to everything. It's not the answer to everything, but it definitely helps in those scenarios. So that is how I can answer your question. Do you think it's kind of help you understand the aspect?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We have one more question, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dhruv has said, I have heard that big MNCs like Google, Amazon generally don't come to Delhi University. So what should I do to get into those companies? And what should I do to get a really good package? Is grabbing good knowledge of computer languages and learning machine enough?
I think I'll tell you very simply. So let me tell you, I have heard a lot about Google and Amazon kind of claiming that they don't look at degrees nowadays, and they look at. So let me tell you, if you think that you are a real good programmer, you have a knowledge, please go to these sites called as Hacker Earth, Hacker Rank. They actually conduct these competitions. There is Kaggle. If you are into data science and data analytics, go to Kaggle. Kind of ensure that you are able to break the problems. There are challenges, and if you win any of those challenges, and all these companies are having an eye on you, uh, Microsoft, Google, all, they actually go and they give open challenges. They say, if you are able to break that coding problem for me, we'll hire you. So these are the avenues, and these are the ways in which you can kind of get through these organizations. But I'll say that let me tell you, don't target organizations. Even though I don't deny you should have a dream company, but that should not become a barrier in your life. So the way I would always suggest is that you can always start and ensure that you get into some organization who kind of value your current background, your experience, your knowledge, hone your skills, continue. And let me tell you, once you have a job and you are there, getting into any organization of your choice is not that difficult. It's after that you are just applying to them. I don't deny companies like Google, Amazon, they get too many, but Amazon is hiring big time. Trust me, if you are good, if you have proven your skills, and if you can crack their interviews, you will get through. So I'm pretty sure on that. But don't get hung up is my simple advice. Keep yourself open and keep preparing. If not now, maybe 2 years later, you will be able to get that job. I can guarantee you. If that is the kind of perseverance you can show me the way you have asked me that question.
May has also asked a question.
Yep.
IT sectors innovations for visually impaired or blind or for PWD. What do you think? Is it enough, or IT should grow in this area? And what do you think in the next 5 or 10 years where IT can go?
I'll be very honest in answering this question that I may not have a complete understanding of the sector per se, but yeah, I am aware of Microsoft. I'm aware of a couple of more companies who have worked in this particular direction for visually impaired typically, and they have created, at least they have ensured that the products that they give, are basically, kind of compatible and for visually impaired. But as you said correctly, we haven't done enough at all. There is a lot to be done. And I hear of a lot of work being done in this sector in US, more than what I have heard of this happening in India. So there is a scope for sure. I'll tell you what, let's try to understand this. When you say IT should do it, what is an IT? So imagine a company XYZ, which is basically giving an ERP or a CRM product or a databases. I'm not sure how much they would like to be, So what you're talking about is when it comes to, so organizations look at the profits at the end of the day, So they would have done enough, but these sectors, so kind of remain unexplored because of the reason that, do we have traction, do we have enough users? So these are more philanthropic aspects. And there are so many, I know of so many IT folks who have left their full blown careers and decided to go into social sector. I named one person. I know a couple of more folks who have been my colleagues, and they have decided to do this. So there are people who are doing their bit, but typically in this area, I don't have enough knowledge, and I may not be able to comment beyond this point. But we can discuss it offline sometime, and we can kind of figure it out if there is a very specific question you have, or I can try to find out someone whom you can connect to understand that part.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question. Should we prefer JavaScript or PHP while working on a responsive web page?
Again, I am not a front-end developer, so I may not be able to answer that question at all. That so I will refrain from answering that question. I'm sorry, which of the two, but I'm pretty sure I can connect you to some UI developer who can answer you that question very easily. So I'm sorry for this one.
Okay, ma'am. I think there are no more questions.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Ma'am, the Google have launched a service called Google Stadia, in which you just need a internet connection and you can have gaming, and the processing of gaming will be on the cloud.
Yeah.
So उसमें आगे क्या स्कोप है कि क्या मतलब क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग में एक तो डेटा सेंटर्स है जो डेटा को स्टोर कर रहे हैं, एक है जो उसे प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं, तो प्रोसेसिंग वाले पार्ट में क्या आगे कुछ है कि मतलब काफी अच्छा करियर जा सकता है?
So let me tell you this. If you ask me, cloud has a lot of scope. And when you talk about cloud, what you have to understand is that there are these three public service providers, right? Public cloud providers. I told you about AWS has the biggest market, around 70, 75, 70%. Let's give them that much because they are reducing now. Azure is the next one, and then is the GCP. I would clearly suggest you that you can decide to go for a certification in AWS, at least start. I think their cloud computing certification is not that expensive and it's not that difficult. And that one single certification will give you enough idea about your question that you're asking. So please understand. So what you're saying is they just need a monitor, they just need a console and maybe a keyboard. That's it. After that, neither you need a storage on this box, nor you need a computing power in your box, nor you need a networking, except that you can connect to the internet, as they have said correctly. Beyond that, everything will be taken care by the cloud, basically. Yeah. So there is absolutely good amount of scope, and that is what cloud computing is all about, and I have been talking about. So yes.
And ma'am, honestly, while using Tor, we have some sites that are blocked just because of Cloudflare internet security.
Yeah.
So in that way also, is there any a big scope having a good lifestyle in?
Let me tell you, see, the next big change that's happening in next 5 years, I've told you, is that most of the enterprise companies or mid-size or small mid-size companies are realizing it's very difficult to handle data centers, and we would like to shift our entire data centers onto the cloud, which implies whatever storage they have will be moved to the cloud, and whatever computing power and applications and everything will be on cloud, and they'll be accessing it over the internet. Now, for that perspective, so do you know why cloud was there in 2005? And today, until 2020, we are realizing, or maybe last 3 years, it has picked up enough that companies have made a decision that, yeah, now we want to go to the cloud. Do you know why this journey took so long? Because you pointed out correctly, because of the security, because of the fear that will my data, try to understand, this is my proprietary data, this is the most important, my financial data, my HR data, will it be lost? So once cloud has given, cloud has ensured that the data is secure, the access is secure, everything is, and then there is no possibility of breach and theft. That is why companies have taken such a plunge and such a big decision to move on to the cloud, right? So cloud computing has a big scope, and connect with me offline and we can talk, and I can tell you how to go about it and which particular public cloud provider you can think of. I can give you those ideas, but just to give you an idea, just to give you answer in simple, yes, it definitely has a lot of scope.
Very thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So I think we are done with the questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am, for such an informative and a lovely session. We are really motivated. We also thank our lively audience for being so patient and interactive. We extend our gratitude to our principal, Dr. 𝐸𝐐𝐤, our convener, Dr. Darshan Pandey, founder and president, Ms. Nishtha Sethi, and a lovely team for making this a success. Ma'am, we have Darshan sir with us online for the vote of thanks.
Hello, sir. I think he's on mute. Can you tell him? It seems to be.
Yeah, he's on mute.
Just tell him.
या
Yes.
आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
Yes, sir.
नमस्कार, मैं माफी चाहता हूँ कि मैं एक दूसरी मीटिंग में था तो मैं ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाया, ये जरूरी मीटिंग चल रही थी, मैं जस्ट जुड़ा हूँ। बस इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ कि मैं भी शिवाजी से पास आउट रहा हूँ, तो मेरे आसपास के यानी मेरे कंटेम्प्रेरी कोई अगर आते हैं तो मुझे अच्छा लगता है। तो मैं 97 पास आउट हूँ शीतल जी।
Okay, sir. तो I think हम मिले नहीं, लेकिन it is so nice to know कि जब you get to know your seniors and your pass out. Okay, I think you're my junior in that case. I'm sorry, I'm 99. So you're my senior. So in that perspective, मतलब exactly as you said that एक same college से होने का जो feeling है, that's always nice, yeah, to.
तो मैं हिंदी ऑनर्स था, तो हिंदी का टीचर बन गया शिवाजी कॉलेज में, और मेरे ख्याल से आभा जी भी जुड़ी हुई हैं, वो शायद आपके
She is my batchmate, sir. Yes.
या आभा जी को मैंने देखा अभी, तो आभा जी जुड़ी हुई हैं। तो
Hmm.
बहुत बहुत आभार, आपका धन्यवाद। हमारे जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको फायदा हुआ होगा निश्चित रूप से आज की टॉक से, और भविष्य में भी आप एज ए एलुमनी, एज ए फ्रेंड जैसे भी हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को गाइड करेंगे, अपना समय देंगे, तो मैं पूरे कॉलेज की तरफ से, ARC की तरफ से, अपनी तरफ से आपको बहुत बहुत थैंक यू बोलता हूँ। सारा माफी चाहता हूँ कि मैं नहीं जुड़ पाया। ठीक।
No, sir, thank you so much. And I would like to thank ARC. It has been a wonderful opportunity. And I'll tell you, when I was talking about and when I was telling, when Nishta asked me to do this particular, session, the only thing that was there in our mind was that how to ensure, or what are the kind of, I definitely made this session thinking of all the questions that I had in my mind when, when I was passing out from graduation, deciding on doing a post-graduation, after the post-graduation. So I've tried to give that particular session from that perspective. I am available on LinkedIn. I'll be sharing my email ID in case any one of you want to send me mail or connect me over LinkedIn, and ping me, guys. I may not be able to answer immediately, but I'll definitely try to answer your questions as much as I can, because I think it's a time in my life where I feel that if I have something, some knowledge in some way in which I can kind of pass it on, if I know something which can help you guys, I think I'll be more than happy. So consider it as kind of that very much. It's great to connect again back, and knowing that you're connecting to your juniors is amazing. So thank you so much, all of you, being part of this amazing session, and thanks for all the questions that you had. And I hope I have done, I know that what I have talked on a little 20,000 feet kind of a view, and we can drill down even deeper on various areas, like the kind of questions coming in have kind of helped me understand that part. But as I've said, I am very much available. So go ahead, shoot me questions over mail or over LinkedIn, and I'll be there for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It has been a great session, and I think I think we should take each other's leave now.
Yeah. निष्ठा, इसको बंद कर दें क्या? निष्ठा, चिराग?
I think Shruti is handling it. Shruti?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just
very
about to
happy.
end the meeting.
आप देवराज होस्ट हैं मेरे ख्याल से, एक बार मुझे होस्ट कर दें, तो एंड कर देते हैं। रिकॉर्डिंग स्टॉप कर दो। ओके, एंड करते हैं इसको। ओके।